My name is Claire Donovan, and I'm 31 years old. Competence doesn't put on a show. It hums. Off-peak cycles clicked over at 12:01, the grocery list sorted by aisles, the budget spreadsheet turning every cell green with the small, tidy exhale of a formula that balances. I like ballast. No one praises ballast until the boat lists. Thursday night, the kind of quiet that used to feel like safety. The news murmured from the TV, the lamp throwing a soft triangle of light onto the rug we pretended to pick out together. I sat on the couch scrolling, nothing important, nothing urgent, while Ethan, 28, supposedly answered emails beside me. 3 years together. 18 months living in my apartment because it had better light and a shorter commute. We had routines that looked like closeness. His phone buzzed. He tilted it away from me, a reflex so practiced it was graceful. A small thing, like a draft under a door. Another buzz. Then the smile. Not for me, the one from the early days when a message could yank a laugh out of his ribs. He started typing, both thumbs, fully absorbed. I watched the way his shoulders lifted, the way his focus glassed over until I could have walked out the door with the TV and he wouldn't have noticed. "Who's got you smiling like that?" I asked, voice easy. I have a voice I use for negotiations, calm, curious, never cornering. "Sabrina," he said too quickly, like a kid reciting an answer he'd thought of earlier. She sent a meme. Sabrina. "Your friend Sabrina," I said, letting the air between the words sit. He'd told me she was just someone from the gym, then a friend, then barely in touch. Her Instagram had been a travel brochure last week. Mountains, no service, a caption about unplugging. The same day, he'd told me she was checking in about a playlist. The phone buzzed again. Before he could angle it, the preview bloomed bright on the lock screen. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend. S." I didn't look at him. I looked at the message until the screen went dark on its own, a small rectangle of space collapsing back into secrecy. "You told me you blocked her," I said. "I did." He smiled like this was a minor customer service issue. Then I unblocked. "We're friends. It's not... Claire, you're overreacting." "Friends who can't stop thinking about last weekend," I said. "Which weekend was that?" He laughed. It started as disbelief and sharpened as it went. "Oh my God, you're being dramatic." He set the phone face down with a flourish, like the conversation was finished. "What are you going to do? Break up with me over texts?" The laugh landed on my skin like a slap I didn't flinch from. People think the worst part of betrayal is the proof. It isn't. It's the laugh. The certainty that you're too careful to be dangerous. I didn't argue. I turned off the TV, stood, and walked to the bedroom. "Where are you going?" he called after me, still amused. "Claire, we're talking." "No," he was laughing. I was done talking. In the closet, I reached for the suitcase on the top shelf, the expensive carry-on I'd bought him last year for the trip to Lisbon we never took. It slid against my palms with that expensive, oily whisper. I put it on the bed and unzipped it. The sound was neat, final. "What are you doing?" He leaned in the doorway, arms folded, grin fixed like a mask. Then it faltered as he saw what I was putting inside. My shirts, folded in precise thirds. My black slacks rolled tight. The sweater that pillowed at the sleeves. I added the blue dress he'd once called my lucky dress because good things happened when I wore it. I stopped believing in luck when I learned to keep receipts. Are you packing your stuff in my suitcase?" he asked, incredulous, as if ownership could reverse the consequences. I didn't answer. I went to the bathroom. My toiletries slid into a small bag. Razor, moisturizer. The perfume, he said, smelled like early mornings on clean sheets. The mirror gave me back a woman whose face didn't shake. "Claire." His voice tried a new tone, reproachful, then softening. "It's just texts." I zipped the toiletry bag and dropped it into the suitcase. Then I picked up the leather folder where I keep the documents that tell the truth about my life. Passport, birth certificate, tax returns. Papers that do not care whether someone laughs. "Stop!" He stepped into the room like proximity could shatter resolve. "We can talk about this. You're not actually leaving." I opened my laptop on the dresser and the hum of competence returned like muscle memory. Extended stay hotel. 10 minutes away. Decent reviews. Monthly options. I booked it. Confirmation number, check-in details, the little map that shows you how close freedom can be. "Claire, this is insane," he said, the laugh curdling at the edges. You're throwing away 3 years over nothing. Nothing, I repeated. The word felt clean in my mouth. I slid the folder into the carry-on. He followed me into the living room, still performing certainty. Look, I'll block her, right now. He unlocked his phone, scrolled with theatrical speed, turned the screen toward me. See? Blocked. It would have mattered yesterday. It didn't now. I crouched by the TV stand and pulled out the things that were unequivocally mine. The gaming console I'd bought, the controller with the tiny chip on the left trigger, the external hard drive. Each cable wound into a neat circle, each object laid in place like proof. Are you really doing this? He asked. The smile was gone. His face had that empty-palmed look people get when they finally notice the floor slope. Yes. Where am I supposed to go? He asked, voice pitching up. This is our place. It's my lease, I said. You're my guest. He stared as if I'd switched languages. For a moment, I almost apologized for the sentence being accurate. The rideshare pinged. Your driver is 8 minutes away. I felt the oddest thing. Relief, like cool water. He stepped closer. Claire, please, I'm sorry. It was stupid. Sabrina was going through something and you went through something with her last weekend? I asked, polite as a cashier. He swallowed. It wasn't like that. I walked to the kitchen and started assembling my small list of essentials. The coffee maker, mine. The compact air fryer, mine. The Instant Pot, mine. The appliances made an absurd little parade toward the door, chrome catching lamplight like small, reliable moons. You're taking the appliances? He sounded offended, as if I'd stolen the set pieces from his alibi. Claire, be serious. I am. He reached for the suitcase handle, a grab meant to be both intimate and obstructive. I set my hand over his and lifted his fingers off one by one, gentle, steady. He looked startled by how easily they let go. Okay, he said, breathless laughter again, a last-ditch charm offensive. You win. Funny. Point made. This isn't a point, I said. It's a boundary. The rideshare updated, 4 minutes away. He watched me open my banking app. We never merged accounts. A gift from my past self to my future self. I began pruning the branches he'd been resting on, removing his phone from my plan, scheduling the cancellation of the renter's insurance rider I'd added when he moved in, pausing auto-pay for utilities until I could talk to the landlord in the morning. Each click was not revenge. It was maintenance. What are you doing on your phone? He asked, panic hitching into his voice. Returning my life to me, I said. He stared at the coffee maker in the carry-on bag like it had betrayed him. You can't just leave. I can. I took photos of the furniture, the electronics, the serial numbers, everything I'd purchased with my money. Documentation is a love language I finally learned to speak to myself. Claire, I love you, he said. No laugh now, just the flat, frightened truth people find when the script collapses. I paused at the door, my hand on the suitcase I'd bought him for a trip, where we were meant to get lost together, and instead I lost him right here in our living room. I looked at him, really looked. The man I'd been building a future around like scaffolding around an empty stage. What are you going to do? He asked again, softer, as if there might be a negotiated clause somewhere inside this ending. Exactly what you said, I told him. Break up with you. The driver texted, I'm outside. I rolled the suitcase to the hall. He followed, words tumbling, apologies threaded with accusations, promises stitched to conditions. I didn't answer. He didn't need my answers to discover the shape of consequence. The elevator arrived with a chime too cheerful for endings. I stepped in. He didn't. The door slid shut on his face, confused, angry, suddenly very small. When the lobby doors opened, the night air met me like a verdict and a beginning. The driver popped the trunk. Moving out? He asked, kind, not prying. Something like that, I said. We pulled away. My phone shook with messages I didn't read. The city lights went by like punctuation. Short, bright, final. I pressed my palm to the suitcase's smooth edge and felt it hum with the quiet mechanics of a new itinerary. Not Lisbon, not us. Just me. The first morning alone felt too quiet to be real. Hotel walls hum differently than home ones. They don't absorb memory. They reflect it. The air smelled like bleach and old carpet. I set my suitcase on the luggage rack, opened my laptop, and exhaled. The spreadsheet waited, the same one I'd used to track rent, utilities, joint bills, the invisible labor of stability. One by one, I erased Ethan's name from every shared cell. Utilities, transferred. Phone plan, line removed. Car insurance, cancellation scheduled for the next billing cycle. Streaming services, passwords changed, emails reset. Each click was antiseptic and strangely intimate, like cleaning a wound you don't yet feel. My phone lit up. Ethan. Claire, we need to talk. Then, I can't find my car insurance. Did you cancel it? I didn't answer. He called. Twice. Then 10 times. On the 12th ring, I turned the phone face down on the desk. I'd learned silence was sharper than any word. By noon, he switched tactics, messages oscillating between fury and pleading. Ethan, you can't just walk away like this. Ethan, we built a life. Ethan, you're overreacting. It was just messages. Ethan, I'll block Sabrina, please. I almost laughed. Almost. But laughter is what got us here. I called Mrs. Keller, my landlord, that afternoon. She'd always been kind, the kind of woman who baked when tenants moved in. Mrs. Keller, I said, I need to remove someone from the apartment. He isn't on the lease. Her voice softened. Is everything all right, dear? It will be. She sighed, the kind of sigh older women have earned. Then he's technically your guest. If you'd like him out, we can send a formal 30-day notice. I'll handle it. Make it official, I said. When the document arrived an hour later, something in me steadied. I forwarded it to Ethan with a short note. You have 30 days to vacate the apartment. Notice coming from the landlord. Take care. The reply came fast and nuclear. Ethan, you can't do that. I have rights. Ethan, this is my home too. Ethan, I'll sue you for illegal eviction. Ethan, please answer me. I'm sorry. Please come back. I muted the thread. By Friday, desperation mutated into entitlement. A bank alert flashed on my phone. Suspicious charge attempt. $2,980. Furniture World. I called the bank. Yes, Ms. Donovan, the representative said. Someone tried using your card for a large purchase. We've blocked it. Of course. Ethan had memorized my card number during our move last year. I texted him. Claire. Nice try with the credit card. That's fraud. Ethan. I needed furniture for my new place. You left me with nothing. Claire. Get a job, or ask Sabrina. Ethan. She won't help me. This is your fault. Claire. My fault you cheated? Interesting logic. He didn't reply. That night, I made tea in the hotel kitchenette and watched steam ghost the window. The city beyond looked indifferent. I envied it. By Saturday, the story had gone public. A friend texted me a screenshot. Ethan's social media post. A blurred selfie, red eyes, the caption, My abusive ex threw me out with nothing. Please don't ever love someone who turns cold overnight. Hundreds of sympathetic comments beneath it. I read every one. Each, you deserve better, felt like an echo chamber of his version. Normally, I wouldn't have responded, but he'd rewritten the truth so cleanly it made me shake. So I posted once, just once. Fun fact, discovering your boyfriend's been texting his ex-girlfriend for months, lying about work trips, and using your money to fund it. Apparently that's abuse now. Also, expecting him to pay his own bills after cheating? Learn something new every day. Attached beneath it, a screenshot of Sabrina's can't stop thinking about last weekend text. The post stayed up for 40 minutes before Ethan deleted his. Sunday morning, the front desk called my hotel room. Ms. Donovan, the receptionist said, there's a man here insisting he's your boyfriend. He says it's urgent. I stared at the phone. I don't have a boyfriend. A pause. Would you like us to ask him to leave? Please. I watched from the window as 2 security guards escorted him out. He was holding a box, maybe of my things, maybe of excuses. He looked up once, toward the hotel facade, not my window. Then he was gone. My phone vibrated seconds later. Ethan. You didn't have to embarrass me like that. Ethan. I just wanted to talk. I turned the screen face down. Again. Monday. Back to work. I made it through 2 client calls before my manager knocked on my cubicle. Claire, we've gotten several calls for you. 5, actually. Each said it was a family emergency. I froze. Same caller, she added gently. Man, said he's your fiancé. My breath went thin. That's not true. That's my ex. He's been harassing me. She nodded, professional but kind. I'll inform security. He won't get through again. After she left, I stared at my muted phone. Another message popped up, unread. Ethan, why are you making me look crazy? I almost typed, "You're doing fine on your own," but I didn't. I had better uses for silence. That evening, I got another alert. Credit monitoring service. 3 new credit card applications in your name. I sat back in the hotel chair. The world tilted, not from surprise, but recognition. Ethan had always liked using what was mine. I called the fraud department, filed reports, then the police. Detective Martinez called back an hour later, voice steady, practiced. "You have proof he knows your information?" "He lived with me for a year and a half. He had access to everything." "And you discovered infidelity, then he faced eviction?" "Yes." "Clear motive," he said. "We'll reach out for a statement." When I hung up, I realized my hands weren't shaking. 2 days later, my phone buzzed again, from an unknown number. "Ethan, the police just came to my job. You called them on me." "Claire, you committed identity theft. What did you expect?" "Ethan, I didn't do anything." "Claire, 3 credit applications say otherwise." "Ethan, I was desperate. You ruined my life." "Claire, you ruined it yourself. I just stopped paying for it." He didn't respond again that night. I shut my laptop, poured the rest of my tea, and sat in the dark. The hum of the mini fridge sounded like breathing, steady, mechanical, alive. Freedom wasn't loud. It hummed, just like competence does. I finally understood that hum was the sound of my life recalibrating. The human mind has a strange reflex when chaos begins. It looks for the pattern, the rhythm, the part that still makes sense. For me, that rhythm was documentation. Every morning in that hotel, I opened a new folder on my desktop labeled by date. Screenshots, text logs, bank statements, evidence that I wasn't losing my mind, only shedding what tried to rewrite it. By week 2, Ethan's messages had shifted again. Gone was the apology phase. Now came manipulation disguised as empathy. "Ethan, I'm worried about you. Everyone says you've changed." "Ethan, you're not yourself. Please talk to me." "Ethan, we can fix this." Fix this meant undoing the consequences he'd earned. It was never about healing, only access. The next escalation came through my friends. First, Riley texted, "Claire, what's going on? Ethan says you're having a breakdown. He's worried." I called her immediately. "He's lying." Riley hesitated. "He sent screenshots of you canceling his insurance, changing locks, because he stole my information, because he's been harassing me. Do you want proof?" I sent her the folder, the screenshots, the text from Sabrina, the fraud alert, the police report. 10 minutes later, she called back, voice shaking. "I'm so sorry. I believed him for a second." "He's good at that," I said. "He's always known how to sound like the reasonable one." But Ethan wasn't content with sympathy from friends. He needed validation from strangers, too. By midweek, anonymous posts began appearing on local community boards. "My ex is trying to ruin my career. She's unstable, possibly dangerous." Someone else, definitely him, commented pretending to be a concerned neighbor, adding made-up details about late-night yelling and property damage. I saved them all. Then I logged off. There's power in not defending yourself in public when you're building your case in private. Thursday morning, I walked into work with a coffee and found my manager waiting. "Claire, quick heads up," she said. Security intercepted another call. Same guy. "Ethan," she nodded. "He claimed you were in danger, said he needed to check on you personally." I almost laughed. The irony of the man who frightened me pretending to rescue me. "Thank you for intercepting." After she left, I sat for a moment, staring at the dark screen of my monitor. My reflection looked calm, efficient, almost unrecognizable. I realized I'd crossed from grief into strategy. That afternoon, Detective Martinez called. "Ms. Donovan, we've confirmed the credit applications trace back to a laptop registered under Ethan Wells. We'll be issuing a warrant for questioning." I closed my eyes. "Thank you." He hesitated. "I know this kind of situation can feel messy, but you did the right thing by reporting early. Most people don't." I thought about how women are trained to minimize, to make chaos tidy. "I'm done minimizing," I said. Friday. My phone vibrated again. Unknown number. "Ethan, the police came to my work. You humiliated me." "Claire, they came because you broke the law." "Ethan, you're ruining my life." "Claire, you ruined it yourself. I just documented it." Then silence. I checked his social media that night out of morbid curiosity. The man who once curated every detail now had nothing but a blank profile picture and one cryptic post. Some people mistake revenge for closure. He never could tell the difference between consequence and cruelty. 2 days later, Mrs. Keller called. "Claire, we finished the inspection. He's out." A pause. "You might want to see this." I met her at the apartment that afternoon. The hallway smelled like dust and something bitter. When she unlocked the door, the place looked like a metaphor someone had taken too literally. Holes punched in the drywall, mirror cracked, couch fabric slashed. My old coffee table lay in 2 pieces. "He said you stole his refrigerator," she said carefully. I blinked. "The mini fridge? I bought it before he moved in." "I figured," she said. "He's claiming damages, but I have your receipts." I looked around at the destruction. The life we'd built looked like evidence in a case study for denial. "Take it from my deposit if you need to," I said. "I just want this over." Mrs. Keller sighed. "We'll pursue him for the damages instead. You've been through enough." That evening, the inevitable happened. Ethan went live on Instagram. I didn't watch, but the clips found me anyway. He sat on the floor of an empty room, face streaked with tears, telling an audience of strangers that I'd made him homeless. When someone in the comments asked, "Didn't you cheat on her with Sabrina?" he froze. The feed ended 30 seconds later. By morning, his profile was gone. A week passed. The detective called again. "We've moved forward with the case. Mr. Wells has been arrested for identity theft. He made 3 fraudulent credit applications and attempted to open a loan under your name." For a long moment, I didn't speak. I wasn't sure what to feel: relief, vindication, or just the absence of fear. "He'll likely be released on bail," Martinez added, "but the record stands." "Thank you," I said. After we hung up, I sat on the hotel bed. The hum of the mini fridge filled the silence. It didn't sound like loneliness anymore. It sounded like breathing space. Later that night, Riley called. "I heard what happened," she said. "Are you okay?" "I think so. He really spiraled." "Yes," I said softly, "but sometimes you have to let people fall instead of holding the rope that's strangling you." We were quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What are you going to do now?" I looked at the suitcases by the door, the ones I'd once bought for us. "Move on," I said, "in every direction possible." The following weekend, I signed a lease on a new apartment closer to work. Small, white walls, big windows. When I stood inside it for the first time, I realized how much noise had followed me from the last place. The constant hum of suspicion, the static of denial. This space hummed too, but it was a cleaner sound. Freedom doesn't shout, it hums. And finally, I could hear it. The morning I moved into my new apartment, sunlight spilled through the bare windows like proof that things still grew after endings. The walls were white, the air sharp with paint and possibility. I set down the same suitcase I'd packed the night I left Ethan, still scuffed on one corner, still mine. There was no furniture yet, just me, a folding chair, and quiet, the kind that doesn't echo with someone else's voice. I made coffee in the travel press I'd brought from the hotel. The hiss of boiling water filled the silence, rhythmic, grounding. I didn't post about it, didn't tell anyone I'd officially moved in. Some beginnings are too fragile for witnesses. That week, the final notice arrived from Mrs. Keller. She'd finished the eviction process. Ethan was officially gone. She called me that afternoon, her voice brisk but tinged with pity. "He left quite a mess," she said. "Broken mirror, holes in the wall, but we're handling it. I filed a claim for damages. His deposit didn't exist, so I'll be pursuing him." "Do you need me to testify?" "Maybe, if it goes to small claims court." "Send me whatever you need," I said. When the photos came through, splintered furniture, graffiti on the wall that read, "You'll regret this," I didn't flinch. It was like looking at the aftermath of a storm you'd already lived through. The message wasn't about me. It was about what he couldn't control anymore. 2 nights later, Detective Martinez called again. "Ms. Donovan, I wanted to update you personally. Mr. Wells has been arrested. Identity theft, 3 confirmed counts, attempted fraud. He made bail yesterday. His parents posted it, but he'll have a record." For a second, I didn't feel relief. I felt weightless, like something I'd been unconsciously carrying had finally been set down. "Thank you," I said quietly. He hesitated. "Most victims don't follow through this far. You should be proud." "I'm not proud," I said. "Just done." When I hung up, I leaned against the counter and stared out the window. Below, people were walking dogs, buying groceries, checking their phones. The world kept moving. It didn't need my pain to revolve. A few days later, a message arrived from Riley. He's moved back to his parents' place, apparently working retail now. Court hearings start next month. I typed and deleted my response 3 times before settling on, Claire, good. Consequences teach where kindness couldn't. I spent that weekend unpacking slowly. The ritual felt sacred, a drawer at a time, a life rebuilt through small order. The last box I opened wasn't mine. It was one Ethan had left behind, labeled in his handwriting, Claire, Memories. Inside, our photos, ticket stubs, anniversary cards, the physical evidence of a version of us I no longer believed in. I carried the box downstairs and dropped it in the dumpster. There was no anger, just the clean satisfaction of subtraction. The following morning, I sat cross-legged on the empty floor, scrolling through the photos on my phone. My last picture of Ethan was from the day he'd helped me paint an accent wall in the old apartment. His smile looked borrowed, like it didn't belong to him anymore. For a fleeting second, I wondered if he thought about that night, if he remembered the laugh, the confidence, the disbelief that I'd actually leave. Then I remembered his face in the doorway as I rolled my suitcase past him. The exact moment disbelief turned into comprehension. That was the moment I took my life back. Weeks passed. I learned to sleep without waiting for the sound of someone else's keys, learned to enjoy quiet dinners without glancing at a phone for a message that never came. I started jogging again. Not far, just around the block, the kind of run that teaches you where your breath ends and your willpower begins. Riley joined sometimes, and we didn't talk about Ethan anymore. We talked about plants and recipes and places we wanted to go that didn't remind us of anyone. One night over dinner, she asked, "Do you ever think about forgiving him?" I stirred my soup and thought carefully. Forgiveness isn't about freeing him, I said. It's about not carrying him. She smiled. You're really free now, huh? Almost, I said. There's still one trip I need to take. A month later, I stood at the airport, suitcase handle in hand. The same suitcase, the one I'd bought him for our never-taken trip. It gleamed under the terminal lights like a private joke between me and the universe. The ticket read Tokyo, solo trip. At security, the agent glanced at my bag tag. Traveling alone? Yes. Business or pleasure? Freedom, I said. He smiled, not understanding, and waved me through. On the plane, as the engines roared to life, I thought about everything that suitcase had seen. Love, betrayal, escape. How it had carried the worst version of an ending and was now carrying me toward something unspoiled. I remembered his laugh, that last line. What are you going to do? Break up with me? He'd said it like a dare. Now, as the plane tilted into the clouds, I whispered to myself, I did. No applause, no vindication. Just the hum of the engines, steady and certain. Sometimes peace doesn't come from victory. It comes from leaving and never looking back. I landed 12 hours later, greeted by a city I didn't know, signs I couldn't read, streets that didn't have his ghost in them. I rolled the suitcase behind me, its wheels steady, its weight balanced. For the first time in a long time, I didn't need ballast to stay upright. I was my own. He laughed when he thought I'd stay. I stopped laughing when I realized I didn't have to.